Hi, this is Susan Norwell. Welcome to Reciprocity and the Power of the Pause. I'm an educational specialist, co-founder of Rett University, and with me tonight is...
Hi guys, I'm Courtney Barnum, and I'm an educational consultant or specialist, and I am also a sib of a woman who had Rett syndrome. And we are here to talk about reciprocity and the power of the pause.
There we
I
go.
like the name of that. I'm very proud of my title, by the way.
I like that, the power of the pause. I love it. Reciprocity. So I don't think I could stress this often enough. I've just recently have some kiddos that are very much into looping and going to the same places all the time and pretty much ignoring that they're part of a conversation. And I think that those are bad habits, and I think that they will make it difficult for them to have any kind of meaningful communication with their peers or their families if they're only just shooting things at us and it becomes their monologue. So reciprocity is the back and forth, that practice of exchanging things with others for mutual benefit. All right. And so that's the definition of reciprocity if you look at it in the dictionary. But what does it mean for communication is it means that you have to pay attention to what someone says, form your response based on what they've said. That you might wait for someone to respond to something you say, not just charge on to the next thing. That you start responding to the affect cueing, the joint attention, the shared emotions, and all of those require the individual who's the AAC user to do some waiting. And waiting does not happen if they spend a lot of time on their device on their own. Waiting happens when we interrupt their monologue. And we stop them, we pause them, and we help them see the benefit of the back and forth. It's really easier in spoken language to do that because you can actually interrupt. But you could interrupt them verbally and their eyes are still going on an eye gaze device. And so they become really self-absorbed kind of in what they're saying and what they're doing. I know it can be improved with practice because I have seen kids who are just really monologue kids get really good about going back and forth when somebody slows down the interactions, puts pauses in place, playfully says, well, hold on, it's my turn here. Hold on, I get a turn in this conversation. So the skills that we need are not just vocabulary and understanding of language, but the social language, the social reciprocity that is the underpinning of any kind of language exchange. So, Courtney.
So what reciprocity helps our children learn to do is to communicate, looking at a different point of view, understanding someone else's perspective, starting an interaction, gaining attention. I know as a teacher when I was teaching, that was such a huge, I think every single one of my children had that goal. We'll gain attention appropriately. Right. Well, that's that reciprocity. That's bringing in that, okay, I'm going to start an interaction with you and continue the interaction. Use their problem solving, sending an effective message. I had one of my parents text me a couple weeks ago. Their daughter just went through surgery, and mom put the Toby on the table on her hospital bed, and my young lady was having a conversation with her doctors. That is reciprocity. She was sending an effective message. When I had messaged her before her surgery to let her know I was thinking about her, she gets on her device while mom's sending me a video back that says, I'm uncomfortable, because she was nervous. She was getting ready to go in. That's an effective message. She was letting us know how she was feeling. That is so important for our kids, to be able to send an effective message that gets their point across. Listening to somebody else's ideas.
But that's just as important. So sometimes I think we are so excited that they're sending messages. We forget they're supposed to listen to us in terms of not just the modeling, but our ideas. And right. I say that if a kiddo at 4 and 5 is still in the monologue stage, or we're making every little thing that they say meaningful, we're really taking away from the fact that sometimes we have to go, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense because that wasn't what we were talking about. Yeah, I will get back to that. Let's pin that idea, because right now we're talking about this, and somehow that doesn't match up to what we were talking about. Because I do think the topic maintenance is part of reciprocity. And topic maintenance, they need feedback to understand, are they hitting some kind of a mark, even if it's a loose mark. Sometimes I feel like I'm on this trail of like just random conversations, and I think it's really important to kind of snug that in a bit.
So knowing when to take conversational turns, waiting your turn to speak, waiting after a question is asked. One of my girls, one of the biggest things we're working on is she has a questions page that somebody had made for her mom had made for her, and she'll get on there and she'll ask me all 6 questions all at once.
Right.
And so we're
we're
working on, wait, you asked a question, now let's wait a second, let me answer the question, and then we can come back to the next question.
Which leads us to the pause button. If your device doesn't have a pause button, then I'm not sure what device you're on, because all the major devices, the software has a pause button. And that's, I don't think you pause them indefinitely. That's taking away their voice. But just like the right word, I love this, the right word can be effective, but nothing has ever been as effective as the rightly timed pause. And I think that that's kind of a general, probably comedic timing, or people pausing when they're giving a speech. But it being able to pause and say, whoa, let's slow this down a bit, because I just said this, or you just said, how old are you? I haven't had a chance to answer yet. Stop action. I need to act. I need to answer. And that pause, I will tell you in the beginning, when you start pushing kids on being interactive and more reciprocal, for some kids it's like no biggie. They're like so into that. They love it. Other kids get really kind of grumpy. Like, I'm on my roll and you're interrupting what I am saying, whether it makes sense or not. And those kids, you have to kind of be, I think, playfully obstructive. So they get the idea that this is a two-way street, because no peer is going to want to sit and listen to a monologue. They just won't. No. They'll say, oh, this kid only thinks about themselves. Well, so why do we use the pause button? Well, first of all, I always tell my user, just like you do, Courtney, when we're pausing, I say, we're going to stop here for a moment so you can see what I'm trying to show you. So what good is modeling if they're not looking at the device, if they're busy looking at the next thing? We have all been in conversations with people where we know when we're telling them something, they're already formulating the next thing they want to say, and they're not listening to us at all. That's what this can be like for an AAC users. So not that they don't get a chance to talk, and they should get a chance to talk a lot. But I will tell you, if we're not modeling and teaching them and showing them how to expand and put things together, as hard as that is, then we're doing a disservice. Then their language is going to stay the same, and they're going to be massively good about nouns, but they're not going to be massively good about conversation. So pausing gives an opportunity, well, isn't that weird to show up there? Pausing gives an opportunity to assist in a turn-taking of a conversation, gives the listener a chance to clarify. That's so important for our kiddos. If they say something we don't understand, we just don't let it fly by us. We're like, you know what, let me figure out why you're saying this, or what do you mean by this? That's part of discourse. Communication repair is so important. Gives the AAC user a chance to catch their breath and think about what they're saying or asking. It isn't a race. It isn't their job to fill all of the space. That is not what a conversation is. They get a chance to correct something they may have had said by mistake. But they can also now give joint attention to our modeling, to our own questions, our own comments. They can get some focus when they're doing academics. I have some kids, if I don't turn off their devices, they would never write a word. I have them do a bit of writing. I put their device off pause so they can chit-chat a while. Then we go back to doing the writing. Because if we don't do that, or in making words, it's like we wouldn't sit most kids down at a table to teach them to read, speaking neurotypical kids, and let them yak through the whole lesson. We just wouldn't. That's distracting. That's taking brain power away from what we're trying to teach them at that moment. And so I'm very judicious in my use of the pause button, but I do use it. It helps when you're giving directions, and it makes that space to really look at the modeling. For some of my people, it's hard for them to get their bodies organized and look at what I'm doing in terms of modeling. But I have seen drastic changes in kiddos who in the beginning were just basically, one hit Charlie's as fast as they could through their whole device. So which isn't communication.
It's funny. I sat in an IEP meeting for one of my girls this year, and her speech therapist usually sits in our sessions as well. Speaking of, this is my friend and her speech therapist that sits with us. And we were sitting in the meeting, and her speech therapist from school was talking about the fact that Zoe will literally just diatribe across the and a constant. And we had to teach Zoe the pause button. And it's so funny because now she'll say to us, have thought. When she has something she wants to tell us, she'll say, have thought. But she's also getting really good about, like, she will say to me, how are you? And then look at me. It is so cool to watch. She still is not doing it at school because I don't know if they're using the pause button yet. We've told them to. And she was not happy. She was one of my ones when we first started the pause button. She would sit there and fuss at me the whole time she was paused because she did not like it. But she is now getting to the point where she is doing the reciprocity, and it's so much fun to watch her, to have a conversation with her.
Right.
It is so cool to see.
So we find this in our autistic population and our kiddos with autism that are speaking. They just come at you with like everything but the kitchen sink with no concern whatsoever as to your feedback or what your understanding is. We can accidentally, by letting them just tool around on their device like it's a toy, we can accidentally create that kind of a persona without helping them understand the pause. And I will tell you, it's hard when you have an eye gaze device sitting in front of you not to look at it. So oftentimes it helps my kiddos to have it a little bit to the side, so they do have a chance to look at people without looking at their device. It's worth a try. All right, so I'm going to play this movie. You want to give us a little lead up here because this is your kiddo.
So this is Zoe, and we are getting ready to, as Susan said, we're actually getting ready to do academics, and we're getting ready to do making words, and we were spelling something, and I needed her to focus. So I'm pausing her. I think that's the clip I have in here. That I'm pausing her so that she can actually focus on what we're doing, because if not, she is all over her device talking. I'm going to pause you, because that's what we got to do.
And here's the facts. 1, 2, 3. Right. About you ice cream. With you.
Okay. So here's our. I'm ready.
I'm ready. Smoking.
You like this one? Okay, good. I know you can do it. That's what I'm doing. And I'm going to pause you again.
I know. We talk about ice cream all the time.
Ice cream is delicious. I mean, let's just be honest. So, all right, Miss Zoe. I wonder, get that sound in your head. Get the word in your head and think about that first sound you hear. I wonder if your words...
So there was just like a use of that pause button so that she could watch you talk about what you were going to do and then have a little bit to talk about and then back to doing what she needs to do, which I think is kind of that balance that we're trying to do. So here's a family I'm working with in France, and she is a looper. She is a looper par excellence. In other words, she has little loops she's created within the software. She's much less loopy now that we moved her to 50, but this is when she was first starting out. She's on Super Core 30 by Grid. And I had to encourage the parents to slow down, because sometimes when you have a kid who's fast, you tend to speed up with them, which is not helpful. All right. You need to, hold on. You're going too fast. So look, you're telling Daddy, hurry. Tell him, say, hurry, Daddy, hurry. Yes, run. Exactly. Okay, so do you see what happened there? Do you see? Because I didn't click it, so the page changed. I just put my cursor over it so that it highlighted. That's harder to do with a touch, because when you touch, you touch. But that's why you get there, you pin. And then you can hurry, Hurry, Daddy. So, and the pinning, sometimes hasn't changed color. So that's, there we
Yes, I
go.
don't know why. Yeah.
There. Now it will be fine.
Okay.
Right. So then you say, hurry, hurry a few times, and she's watching, but then she goes, run, which is great because that's how we hurry. We run. Come on, let's go, Daddy. So you really need to slow it down so that she sees that modeling. She sees it.
Yeah.
You're going to have to do it a number of times because she's very fast. Then you can take her off pause, and then she can tell you something. That was actually really nice. Yes, march, Daddy. Go march, march, march. She loves to tell him what to do. So the solution to the pointer being able to hold without changing the page is to use the pin, or you can make the hold with your hand longer. So set the dwell time for touch users for 2 seconds, and you touch it for just a half of a second or a 3/4 of a second. It'll light up. You come off, you come back on, and it's not going to talk because normally we have it set to pretty instantaneous. So you just play with the dwell. And so there's lots of ways to make this happen across pieces of software. We have figured out how to do a pin. I got this idea for the pin from Grid, and then we figured out how to do a pin in Snap, which if you don't know how to do a pin in Snap, we should tell you. Okay, so this is Angelina. Angelina is 18, and she actually is one of those kids who has learned a great deal on her device by exploring and putting things together. She just got her device during COVID, and that's when I met her, was during COVID, remotely. We've never met in person. But getting her to be more reciprocal is what our real challenge was, and she's doing so much better. So you can take a look at this back and forth and shared aspect. Hey, remind me before I say goodbye that I need to switch her. I need to see her 2 weeks in a row and not 1 week. I need to change her next date because I've got an intensive with a kiddo in Switzerland. So she says, sure. Just remind me before we go that we work that out.
I like that.
Okay.
You like that? You like switching it up? You're brave, huh? You're saying, hey, that's okay, Susan. We can be flexible, we think. We'll try. You like that a lot? Well, hi, my dear.
Oh, I want to.
You want to. Okay. You want to be flexible. It's a good thing. So greetings and social, that was a good idea. I saw you going there to say hello.
I understand.
You do? Do you understand?
Hello.
Hello. Hi, it's really good. Okay, so what I didn't pick up until I'm watching this again is that when she said I understand, I think what she was trying to say is I understand the need for the flexibility. She was actually staying on that topic for 4 exchanges. When I didn't even have her the camera up on her device, she said, sure. Then she said, I like it, that we're going to change the date. Then she said, I like it again. And then she said, I understand. She went over and she said, we were talking about hello, and she didn't really want to say hello. She wanted to come back so she could say, I understand. And I think that, to me, that was like, oh my gosh, I wanted to jump up and down because there we are having now 4 exchanges around the one topic that I introduced. Not that she introduced, but that I introduced. And how cool that she didn't even need to be having me being a part of her device. She's just using her device. I haven't even pulled it up to see it yet. And she's just chatting with me. And so to me, that's where we're getting to the reciprocity idea. And it wasn't me asking a question. It wasn't me having to make her say something. It was just this really natural exchange going back and forth. But we have used that pause button and that pin button a ton so that she can see what's going on, hear what's going on, and give herself time to respond. Okay. All right. So now we're going to go back so I can explain this one. Okay, so this is also, you're seeing grid 50 in French. I see a lot of kids that speak French, and mine's horrible. And you're going to see her just be really, and again, Liv has such fast eyes, that if I didn't have the pause button and I didn't have a pin button, she would still be saying the same darn things that she said from the very first day I met her. And it's just been really helpful to kind of slow her down. And she's so purposeful. She comes up with the funniest things. I find her to be hysterical. Whoops, hold on. Somehow I didn't play that. Oh, how come it's not playing? Huh. Isn't that weird? Okay. Well, hold on just a minute here. I'll tell you what I'll do. Let me go here and see if I drag this over. You know what? It dragged over as a... Oh, there it is at the bottom. Oh, okay, I see. All right, I see this is a... I don't know why it's doing that versus... Okay.
So, when Blanche got back to the cabin...
So let me see if I can get it. There it is, right there.
So, when Blanche got back to the cabin, her sister and her mother screamed at her for taking so long. They were screaming.
She's bilingual, so she understands a little bit of English, a lot of English.
Let's take a look
French.
at that word.
Her mother's amazing because she's bilingual and she makes this all just work so beautifully.
They were... I don't know where screaming or yelling is.
Oh, yes, I do. Here, I find
Here. Is that it?
Yes.
Yelling.
Dreaming.
Screaming, screaming. No,
No.
I know. That's not nice. I so agree. That is just not nice. Screaming. What does that mean?
Worry. To worry.
I think she is worried. I think she's worried because they are screaming.
That's my
It is not good. Let's go home. Right, they should calm down. They should just calm down, Leave. I agree with you. I agree with you. Yes, I totally agree with you. That is so clever.
So, given time on that page, here's the interesting thing I've been finding in my journey with modeling in 2 different languages, 3 different, well, I've got like 4 at this point, is that if they're really good visually, they're looking at the pictures, but also she's old enough that she's starting to now, when we're writing, she's putting the letters and sounds all together. She does a beautiful job of writing. And I think that we had not shown that relaxed picture. That's, relaxing or calming down, relaxing. She's like, relax, really. They just need to relax. And you really see the humor there, but you also see her sticking to the topic. If she had complete command of every single page that was there without being pinned somewhere, it would have been really harder for her to stay on topic. And so what we do, we can't pin people when they're verbal communicators. It would be great if we could. Boop, let's pin you to there. But being able to pin people, I think sometimes people think it's kind of mean, or maybe we're being a little too restrictive. But what I see over time is without that, we have these kids that just kind of ramble around and don't really say much. They're just kind of spouting off lots of things. And I think that reciprocity, I think this is a great quote. Reciprocity is a deep instinct. It is the basic currency of social life. If we want our kids to be social and not just be the class pet or the kid everybody wants to help take care of, but have them stand on equal footing and be able to say, no, I don't like that, no, I don't want that, because they've heard something that somebody says, they can react to it. I just think that reacting to others is just as important as having people react to them. And I think once they get past like that very beginning stage of communication, like a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, when they're just getting their device and we're making everything meaningful they say, the problem is if we make everything meaningful they say past that point, we're being so tangential that nobody besides us is going to be able to make those connections. No kid that's trying to talk to them, no grandma that's trying to talk to them, no neighbor that's trying to talk to them. We can't make it so okay to be to barely touch the topic and have us understand it. Do you know, we have to kind of then clarify and say, this is what we were talking about. I'm kind of having trouble figuring how this goes with it. Because I think that as they grow and develop, we have to grow and develop in our expectations, if that makes sense.
Well, I'm going to go back to Zoe, was my one who had surgery. And she, like I said, she had conversations with her doctors. And they were talking to Zoe. They were not talking just to mom. And that's...
That's the it. That's
it right there and again, it's, where she's continuing to make progress and she's learning to read and she's doing all this great stuff with us. We're still there's still sometimes I do feel that like we're fighting against because she's not using that stuff at school as much. They're not using it with her. And so they're still not seeing the potential. And so I think that power of the pause and teaching our girls, okay, we're going to pause you for a second so I can clarify, or I'm going to pause you for a second so I can give you the directions of what we're doing so you can understand what we're doing. Giving them, it also helps them understand. I think it helps our girls to understand, okay, wait a second, I got to take a breath and I've got to wait a second. And that helps others see them as the capable human beings they are because they're learning to pause.
Yeah, and I think the other piece of it is, I think it in my mind, it also goes beyond communication. It goes into thinking. Like, how cohesive is their thinking? If they're flipping from thing to thing, are they ever going very deep in their thinking, or are they just staying on the surface? And that's the thing that I worry about, is just, again, it's hard to learn a skill when you're only giving it half your attention. It's and I go back to, it's not that we don't allow kids to talk in school, but I teach groups of kids still because I teach kids church, and I have all kinds of learners in that room because we do full inclusion at my church. And if I let them all talk among themselves, they would never learn anything. And so there are times where we talk and there are times where we listen. And I think that that's the same thing for an AAC user. I think that that's what's expected in social constructs. And I think it's important to help them get there, nurture them along, stretch them a little bit to get there. So hopefully this was helpful to you. If there are any subjects, ideas that we haven't covered, do we have any people that might have questions?
We have one person. Christy, do you have any questions, ma'am?
I don't think so.
Yes.
we just explained it so well. There are no questions. Well, we're gonna say good night.
I've seen it in action. So.
Yes, you have seen it in action. That is for sure. We will close for tonight. And again, if there's any subjects or ideas that you have that we have not covered, boy, please let us know. We'll post this, and so you'll have a chance to look at it and a chance to let us know if you have any ideas. So thank you. And have a good night.
Have a great night, everybody.
All right.